So firstly, the beginner level of this stretch is just lining up fingers 1, 2, 3, 4 on frets 5, 6, 7 and 8 on string 6. And learning that we need to have the thumb directly in the middle of the back of the neck, just inside of where that first finger is, and having the elbow or fretting hand arm right into the side of the body to enable this to be comfortable. If that elbow's out, that little finger cannot reach there. It's just kind of a physical fact. So we need to keep elbow in, thumb a little bit in, middle of the back of the neck. 3, 4 is what we're after. That is a beginner level thing, but let's get there first of all. And what we're looking to develop at intermediate level is that this first finger can start to reach to here, which is 1 fret behind where it was before, where it was lined up. That tends to be the stretch that we require at intermediate level. To build up to that, we may want to have these fingers 2 frets up from the 7th fret, 7, 8, 9, 10, all just touching the string, still keeping a relaxed hand. It can press the string down to the wood, but do not grip on here for dear life. We can't get that stretch and tension at the same time. We need to just have a little bit of pressure down, but enough to be able to move our fingers and have that first finger there. And you should feel a stretch in your fingers and a stretch in the palm of your hand and the back of your hand. And that might be a stretch that's required at different points throughout later modules of this course. And we can make sure that we're ready for this by doing that same thing down every string. Basically 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1 more. And even on string 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1 more. And it just enables us to see what are we working with. And especially if you have a cutaway on your guitar, you could keep doing that as high up as you can go. I can go pretty much to the 9th fret before the body of my guitar is in the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, first finger 1 more, same on every string. That is how we can get a little bit less of a stretch the higher up you go, and it's a little bit more of a stretch the lower you go. At the 7th fret, down 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1 more. Or building up to the 5th fret, 1 more. 1 more. And there's none of these, because we're on the same string, we can't really do picking at the same time as this one. That is just an exercise for kind of stretching out your picking hand. And we don't need to stretch it out for a good amount of time. It's just seeing what we're working with to, again, manage those expectations. Where is our chord hand and our fretting hand at the moment? Can it go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the first finger go to the back of that fret? That warms our hand up and builds us up nicely to doing this first picking and fretting exercise, which is looking at 2-finger combinations. There are beginner versions of these and then intermediate versions. Let me fill you in on the beginner ones first of all, because they just enable us to get the technique down in case some of you haven't looked at this before. And then we'll look at the intermediate combinations. The beginner ones use the first finger, and the intermediate ones tend to use that first finger either not at all or only a little bit. So the entry level of this 2-finger combination exercise is first finger, middle finger on string 6 at fret 5 and 6, and then go down a string, fret 5, fret 6, and do the same down every string. Fingers always lined up parallel to the fret wire all the way down. When we get down to the thinnest string, we come back to the middle finger and then do the opposite. So it's middle finger, first finger, and that gets us down every string. And you could loop that if that's something you're needing more practice with in this fashion, but making sure when we're going down the fretboard, so up in pitch, we start off with the first finger and go to middle, first, middle, index, middle, index, middle, turn around, first finger, middle, index, middle, index. Middle finger starts on each string. The other entry level to this exercise is going index finger and ring finger. So we go index, ring finger, 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 and turn around straight away and back on yourself. Those are the two entry-level combinations we have with this exercise. If that is totally new to you, that is going to be difficult and you might have to get it under your fingers. But if this is the course that's at the right level for you, then that should come together relatively quickly. And the combinations we might want to focus on a lot more. Don't use that first finger, or at least use the first and little finger together, which is where we can start. If this is too much of a stretch for you, you can always do this at the 9th fret and 10th fret, for example. But with the elbow into the side, this should be something that's comfortable for people that are wanting to get to intermediate level, but may also be a little shock to the system. But that's how we make progress. This isn't a scale, this is just a technical exercise looking at what our fingers are capable of right now in a very measurable way, and a way that we can improve just by moving this down the fretboard. Feel free to have a go at that if your fingers are coping with it, but fret 5's a good one to aim for, right in the middle of the fretboard. That's where we're most commonly playing a lot of stuff. And that first proper intermediate combination is that first to little finger, starting to control that little finger. Higher level, 2-finger intermediate combinations that I want to show here so you can add it to your practice routine. Just have a go at this in manageable bite-sized chunks. Include the middle finger and little finger, etc. And even the 3rd finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. And middle 2 fingers, middle and index. Let's go through each of those. Turning around. Middle 2 fingers. Nice and slow, but trying to keep a note ringing out at all times with no gaps, none of, not like that. Ringing out at all times, which even though we're playing this slow, takes a micro speed. It's like slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, quick. And then also just the little finger and pinky, which is pretty higher intermediate level than we're currently at. But you may be able to do it incrementally, and we'd want to just add some element of this to an intermediate level practice routine to get this fretting hand, and indeed the combination between the two hands as reliable as possible for the things we're wanting to ask them to do, ask our hands to do at intermediate level. So final combination. And that's our final combination, but that is pretty higher intermediate level than we're currently at. That's why I showed you the easier ones, which are really kind of late beginner, that early one being very A minor pentatonic-ish. You know, add that one note to it. It's basically the A minor pentatonic scale. Index and middle, and then index and ring finger are late beginner combinations really, but if this is the first time you've covered this exercise, it will be something to learn, it will be something to acquire as a skill. And then we've got the more intermediate ones. The easiest is the first and little finger, controlling that pinky, finally controlling that pinky for many people. And then, of course, middle two, middle and index finger, and then the two littlest fingers, maybe the weakest ones, ring finger and pinky, is perhaps the hardest combination. But see how you get on with that. And anytime it's a bit too much of a stretch, you just move it up. Anytime you're having a good session and this is working for you, just try and move it down 1 fret, maybe 1 fret again. But Rome wasn't built in a day. That's why I've showed you a big range of levels of this same exercise. And we're not really looking for speed in this one. We're actually looking for strength. So I do want each note to ring out. 60 BPM is a great one to aim for, just about once per second. And we're really looking for stretch and strength with this one rather than building speed. Hopefully that helps you, especially when we get up to the next level and we're starting to play harder chords that require pinky strength and just general finger coordination.